If someone was going out, and let's say myself, and I've got adjustable suspension, now you'd probably say just leave it as the. If you guys have set it up, I remember walking around the factory and someone said, "Oh yeah, you can have optional adjustable suspension just as a way of ruining the ride and handling." But if if I was going to go out and set up my car, and it's got the main adjustable things and a bunch of suspension, how would you go out and set up a car on a track? Like, what would be the process for trying to get it right for a listener out there who's maybe just got a set of adjustable suspension for their car?
The big thing with adjustable suspension is, what are you adjusting it towards? So the biggest catalyst for performance and different feel is the tyre. So if you're on a fairly normal road tyre, that won't generally stand with much stiffer springs or anti-roll bars than what the manufacturer puts on as standard nearly, especially if we're talking the cars that our listeners are listening to.
Yeah.
If you put a Cup 2 or a Trofeo on, if it doesn't have that as standard, all of a sudden it allows you to pull probably 30% more lateral force or G under braking. And so that means you're going to generate more roll. So if you've got that type of tyre, then if you're looking at, say, 30% more grip, a good start is probably 30% more spring rate. If you put a bigger spring in, if you imagine a pogo stick, you've got to then put some damping in to control that energy. So if the car compresses into a swell or a dip, you've got to have that damping in there to stop it just being sprung out of the road.
Yeah.
And also, if you've got the high spring rate, you probably don't need what we call high-speed damping as well. So you can put the low speed in at the first part of the nose of the curve, but you don't need all the high speed, which makes it harsh and horrible. So tyre to start with, if you want added performance, and a little bit of spring rate, and then put a good quality adjustable damper on there. And if now with the selection of parts is, don't forget about aero, things like that. People are too obsessed with ride height. They slam their cars down, and that generally means that you can move no other suspension part. So if you think that when you move the body within the suspension, all your roll centers or your camber change, everything like that is having a dramatic effect. So you're better off tuning it rather than just slamming it down. The odd 5-10 millimeters you can gain from. And then it's geometry. The performance tires, because they create a little bit more roll, you need a little bit more camber and toe. But generally it's that, get the catalyst in there first to actually give you some performance gain.
And then if your car's like understeering, what would be a typical, what would you go to first? Maybe probably the driver.
That makes some difference. Obviously, if it's front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, four wheel drive is a big example. Often it's camber is the simplest task. Is if you put some more negative camber on the front, it'll help just the contact patch staying flatter with the road while it's cornering hard. Or if you've got a rear wheel drive car that's still understeering, take a little bit of camber off or take a little bit of toe off the rear axle. Or if you've got adjustable dampers on there, stiffen the end that's effectively got too much grip. It's easier to think of the end that's got not enough or too much grip rather than not enough.
Right.
Sometimes the obsession is to think that you can always gain grip, but the car has a natural amount of grip with the tyre, and all you have to do is balance it front to rear during its cornering.
Okay.